Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Goose Chasing, where it's not about chasing geese at all. It's about the stories that we're chasing.
I like it.
This is a podcast brought to you by TAGNBRAG and TAGNBRAG Productions. We are also brought to you by TAGNBRAG Apparel. Visit our website, www.tagnbrag.co, for weekly apparel. We have another hoodie up on there, the site this week, so get on there and take it while it's hot. We are
Nice
also
charcoal hoodie.
Oh, I love that charcoal one. I actually don't even have one. That's how much I love it.
I do, and it's definitely my most worn.
This round of hoodies is easily the most comfortable hoodies that we've ever had.
It's not just a selling point.
It's not just a selling point. It's a lifestyle.
It's actually true.
It's a lifestyle, if you will. TAGNBRAG's Goose Chasing is also... Oh, God damn, I can't talk, man. We're also brought to you by TAGNBRAG Land Management, okay? You want a consultant? You want a consultant? Consultation? You want a freaking consultation? Go to our website and sign up. God, tongue twister today. Tongue twister. I had some more notes in here about the podcast and what in God's name we were going to be talking about today. No, I can't find it. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. What's up?
Oh, no. Just another day, another dollar.
Beautiful day in Cleveland, Ohio.
I don't know if I'd go that far. Those are a rarity. Especially this time of year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Lots of cloud cover coming off the lake.
Bunch of cloud comers around here. You ever met one of them guys? Them cloud comers?
Dang it, we can't talk.
Can't live with them. Can't live without them. I put like 3.5 miles on the boots yesterday. Did the first official walk of my short shed hunting season.
Got the OnX tracker out?
Oh, I tracked some shit. Thank God for that thing, honestly, because I went onto public land here in Tennessee. It's like 15,000 acres, and it is tons of hills. And it all, honestly, like the hillsides, they look the same. And you get into like thick parts of them. And I did like a massive loop without even trying. And it's honestly, some of the hills and stuff are intimidating. It's big hill country back in there, but it was good.
You need that app to navigate around.
I needed it yesterday. Absolutely. I marked it up quite a bit too, and that's always exciting.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be coming out of there.
I'd probably still be in there, to be honest.
You'd be building a fire.
I honestly don't know what I would do by myself if I shot a deer anywhere within, I don't know, a half mile back or further. And if you shoot a deer and it goes down into one of those valleys, I mean, you have no choice. You got to pack it out.
Pack it out. Multiple trips.
I was already like trying to I'm looking. I'm like, what ridge is the closest? Which what's the shallowest way down? But anywhere that I found points of interest where like I would want to spend time hunting. 2 days, 3 days, packing out whitetails. I don't know.
Get your game bags out.
Call Cam Haynes.
We're hoisting this one up onto a tree. We got some black bear in these parts.
Cam, hey, can you come out and just throw this thing over your shoulder for me?
They don't have any mules you can rent at the gate?
No mules and no vehicle access, which is kind of unfortunate. But it's weird because like the top portion of it is all like a wide gravel road, and like big gravel, like big stone. And I mean, I know all that's for access and probably safety and stuff like that too. But I mean, shit, even getting a unit down the road a little bit, like some of the spots I was looking at and marking on my OnX, I'm like, this shit isn't even close to one of those roads to get out and have like relief of just dragging something or pulling it on a deer cart or whatever. I mean, it's insane, but
that's why you don't find too many people back that far.
That is very true. And self-filming too in a tree. I mean, yeah, I think honestly, one of my goals next year, especially to just see and feel more deer movement, is going to be still hunting with a rifle on the ground and, still being able to have camera equipment to be able to document it along the way. But I think that's your best option to be successful because, I mean, you could shoot quite a long way, and the ridges are and the valleys are so steep down and up, like you could see something on the other hillside and it's only 150 yards away but going down and up to get them would be a hellish descent and then climb. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking out loud right now. I'm trailing off a little bit, but those are the daydreams in my mind that kind of go.
Scout and hunt with your guns. Good position.
Give yourself an option, right? Give yourself an option. What else, man? You froze up on me for a second there.
Oh, so did you.
God loves the internet.
Some of your streams have connection issues.
No.
Are we good now, though?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
Wanted to get into a couple questions off of thy social media. We've had a few people that have we kind of put it out there like, hey, if there's anything you want to hear, talk about on the podcast, send us a message. So a couple people did. I just kind of picked a couple randomly, and there's just, I don't know. I just picked a couple that I liked and whatever. Anyway, George from Facebook asks, how many trail cameras do you normally put out during the season? Georgie, that's a tough question to answer.
However many we got.
All of them?
However many we got. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that there's, at least for us, you just can't have too many trail cameras. Like, you always want more. It's not like, we're good, we got enough. We don't. Just doesn't
especially
matter how many we got.
Especially during the rut when you can find out a lot of information and you're going off of the most recent information. So having trail cameras on literally as many scrapes as you could really find on your property. I mean, obviously, if you're hunting, 10, 15, 20 acres, you got 3 to 4 cameras on that and you're good. You should be good.
Yeah.
But like up in New York, I mean, we're running probably what? I don't know, 12 to 15 at that point during the year. Yeah, during the meat of the season on just short of 200 acres. I mean, yeah, you're just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So the more that you can have, the more you should.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about the Moultries is they're so cost effective. I mean, you can get one of the old Delta cameras. They were on Amazon for like $59. That's a cell camera, and it works great. And it sends you images right to your phone. Like you can get the new Edge for $99. There's still sales on Amazon I saw for 2 cameras for $179 or something. Dude, 2 cameras for two cellular cameras for under $200. That's stupid. And that's such good, once again, most recent information. There you go.
You got to have it. And you got to be willing to move them, honestly, because that's nice about the cell cams, too. You put them out, 72 hours and like you're not getting really anything on them, go move it. Because
Yeah.
you need the most recent information and you're not going to get it if it's not in the right spot. That doesn't mean you move it. And yeah, a buck might walk by and work that scrape, but honestly, if in my opinion, if it's 3 days and nothing's working it, the deer that are like living in there are going to be, you're going to see them. So find another scrape.
Yeah, I mean, especially as it pertains to like the later part of October, I think that's, when you get into the second week in November, third week in November, I mean, and the bucks are like running at that point, the trail cameras and the scrape activity, I don't know, it's very unpredictable, and I don't know that you could read too much into it, although I go back to most recent information, and if you do have a buck that is hitting a scrape during that time, that means that he is most likely doeless. And
Definitely.
in that case, get in there like next day as soon as possible. Because you could be, I mean, whether that's a mystery buck or a buck that you've been watching for a while, like he's definitely, if he's working scrapes, he is now looking. So
yep. And it could be less than 24 hours before he finds one.
Or before he just, vacates and goes and looks somewhere else if he can't find one by you.
So get in there.
Get in there. Honestly, George, that kind of turned into a cool little, talk a little bit right there. Next one, Cornmeal off of
Cornmeal. Cornmeal.
I don't know if this is a joke or not, but this dude's name is Cornmeal.
Spelled C-O-R-N meal.
Meal. Cornmeal, honestly, we're not laughing at you. I'm envious of your name, to be honest. Anyway, Cornmeal is off of TikTok. There is crazy shit going on TikTok, so you just don't know. Maybe that's just a stage name. I don't know. Either way, he wants to know, what is the biggest buck you have ever shot? Biggest buck? Shit. Glad you asked.
Biggest buck. Well,
go ahead, and you go first.
Are we talking about age or inches?
Well, let's cover both.
Not even age, just like deer size.
I think we should cover both.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what. I mean, a lot of people say age over inches. It's really, that's what we like hunting. I don't really care what's on his head. If it's a big bruiser buck and he's survived for some years in the bush. Yeah. That's
good
obviously the target. I'm trying to think. The thing is, we haven't weighed all the deer we've shot, but score wise, for me, it's Don, although that's kind of a joint harvest with my dad. And if you haven't, that's kind of a crazy thing to say. So
you ever seen a buck reincarnate?
If you haven't seen that story, check out our YouTube channel and go look at Don, the hunter.
We just recently reposted that hunt just as a new video. So go to our YouTube channel and check out some of our recent posts. Yeah,
it'll be Don. It says, I think, 170-inch New York buck. I think he went like 167
something,
inches. But he did have a 3 to 4 inch drop time that was busted off. So
also part of his main beam was busted.
Some of his main beam was busted out. Yeah, which that actually split into like 3 points at the end. So we call him the 170-inch deer. He actually was a little bit less than that, but he was a little bit more than that, most likely, with the without his busted points.
The cool part about that buck was it was probably a handful of years after we started to really pay attention and get discipline with our management plan. And so that was kind of the first like really good homegrown buck off of the hill.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dean, we were putting in work, planting food plots. He was there for whatever reason. We were in his core, that's for sure. And
yeah, and it was one of those things where he lived there, but he left for like 3 weeks. I mean, we didn't see him,
that year, yeah.
and that was actually the year that the Godfather was, at least for the rut, was living in our property, which he never did before. I think honestly, people around his actual living area pressured him, kind of pushed him into ours, because he just never lived there before. But I think that's what happened. But I think he pushed Don out of there.
Yep.
And then
For the rut, basically. I mean, it was a better part of November he was gone.
yeah, it was. We didn't know where he was, and then he came back and he was kind of not all busted up, but yeah, he had those few busted points, and then he sort of
got busted.
He sort of moved back in, but
that was the year before that, the year before you and Dad shot Don, we had him, dead to rights a couple times. The one time it was actually a couple times in the same day, wasn't it?
Yeah, the funny thing is with Don is can't really now, we would have passed that deer, but he was probably 2.5 and we were trying to shoot him.
Yeah. But I mean, he was 130 plus inch deer at that point.
Yeah, he was 130 inch 10 point. But yeah, that was right at the beginning stages, and you saw him, and our hearts were pounding, and we were like, we got to shoot. And he was like the biggest deer on the property at that point, even as a 2-year-old. There might have been one or two other ones that were passing through, but as far as living in there. So that was actually a fortunate situation because, yeah, I had the safety off on him with you like 3 different times in one day. Actually, where he was shot the following year.
Yeah.
And just didn't get comfortable,
Dude, remember
shots at him.
That one morning, though, we had a brief encounter with him. He was on a doe. And then it got to like late morning and we were getting antsy and we were sitting in the blind and we had a camera, non-cellular, in the back of what we call our front field, which was, we could kind of see part of it from the blind that we were in, but we wanted to check that camera for him, basically.
No cell cameras at that point.
Right. We were just going to check the thumbnails, basically. And I got out of the blind and I went.
It was like noon.
And I actually walked, I think I walked back out to the road, down the road, and then back in to check that camera. And I was coming back to the blind on the edge of the food plot, and I saw Dean literally waving to me, like to get down. And then I saw and this is out the side window, so this is all like safe. But then I saw the gun go out the front of the blind, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, he's in the game on something right now. And Don was giving him the runaround literally while I'm like laying Vietnam style in the freaking food plot, not knowing what the hell was going on.
Yeah, he was way across the ravine, just nosing around the bedding area. I mean, he was just, it was so thick in there. I was just I had the safety off a couple times trying to get the camera on him. I almost squeezed. Like, literally was putting pressure on the trigger, I remember. And he went behind a tree, and I'm like, all right, it was like a 200-yard shot. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well,
almost had a couple shots at him in archery, I remember too.
Oh, yeah.
Far or just nothing super good, but he made it, thankfully.
He made it and he blew up. That was pretty cool. And yeah, that was, I guess, getting back to it, that was like the first kind of homegrown from the TNB land management side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Buck that we could actually call, a product of our hard work, which was pretty cool.
So that would be my biggest,
dude. But Dwight is massive. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Just not. I'm
he's a
going off a
6 point.
score. That's why
Yeah,
it's
no,
kind of
no.
like for me. Your biggest deer is always kind of like, well, it's kind of how you see it because
Yeah,
there's
that's very
size,
true.
there's age, there's weight, there's inches, but yeah, frame wise, like Dwight is massive. He's huge,
Massive.
and he's a 6 point.
That was the same year, wasn't it? You shot Dwight and Don in the
It was
same
the
year.
same year. Yeah, it was the same year.
Dude. In the words of Eric Church, Dean was having a record year. Oh man. I'm trying to think of well, I mean, for me, score wise, Nipsey is by far like my biggest.
Yeah,
And one of the cooler stories. I mean,
the whole
that was
everyone's
just
biggest.
that's true.
From
Yeah,
our group.
from our group. That is the big boy of Cam Cutlet. I think the biggest deer and just the most ancient deer that I shot is the Godfather for sure.
Yeah,
I mean 8, 9 years old in New York. That's like living till you're freaking 15 in Ohio.
yeah.
He saw a lot of things and eluded a lot of people. That's for sure. One of the bigger body deers is one of the ones that we talked about the last couple of weeks in North Dakota. That 8-point that we shot on the last day. That deer was massive. Body wise, that deer was freaking huge.
And we have no history with him, so you just don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea how old he could be, but that deer was massive.
Unless you have the history with deer, you just really don't know because there's people post these pictures now, and it's awesome to educate yourself and learn about like age and stuff on the hoof, but you don't know still. Like people will talk smack, you'll shoot a buck, you get all these comments, oh, you just shot a 2.5-year-old, whatever. It's like you don't, unless you have history with them, you don't know.
Right.
Because
well, I mean, it's no different than Cartman this year.
Exactly. And I know I just saw Ben Risen. He was talking about one of that big 8-point that he always finds sheds for, who he said was like 7 or 8 years old. But he's like, if you see this deer, if you saw pictures of him, you would not think he's that old.
But probably because he's depleting himself now almost.
Well, yeah, and it's just deer are individuals. They're no different than humans. Like,
right.
I'm a thin guy. I'm not like genetically. That's just, I can eat what I want.
True.
I'm not going to put much weight on. So it's no different than deer. They have genetic. Some deer have massive bodies, no rack. Some deer have small bodies, massive rack. Like you just don't know what you're going to get. And they're not all the same. They're not robots. They're not like everyone looks like this when they're 2.5. Everyone looks like this when they're 4.5.
Right.
I mean, you can go off generalities. Is that a word?
Genitalia?
Genitalities. You can go off that stuff, but it only gets you into a window.
Yeah, I agree.
There's outliers because, like you just said, Cartman this year, people did. They were all commenting on the video that deer needed another year or two. No, he didn't.
He actually needed to go last year.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't.
But we have the proof that deer was at least 5.
At least 5.5. Yeah,
we had 4 years of pictures of him with a rack. So it's just kind of cool that you don't know until you know.
Yeah. No, I mean it is cool, and that's why the land management side of things. I mean, knock it or not, but like people knock like naming deer and keeping track of the deer year to year, and who cares how old he is and this and that. Like it's just intriguing to watch and learn how they are all different. They're all different.
It's fun. It's fun to do that.
That part of it is fun to watch and learn, and don't knock it till you try it or something. I don't know. And if you don't like it, then go shoot whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But
yeah,
don't fucking come at me for doing it.
Well, yeah, I hate that when they're like, you name deer, they're your pets, this and that's. Like, what does that even mean?
No, it's a differentiating factor. Like if we're showing just for us being able, like keeping track and identifying deer based on what our goals are from a management standpoint is important. So for us up on the hill at Camp Cutlet, like we need to show Dad and Uncle Jay some of these deer so that they can identify them. Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to freaking identify them by saying, hey, there's Cartman, rather than, oh, there's the freaking 10 point with the stickers coming off of his G2s.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we survey a lot of deer throughout the year, and especially you and I, we want what we're talking about them constantly.
right.
So when you see 20, 30, 40 bucks throughout the season, like you just said, it's a lot easier to reference them by a name. Not that you're going to name all of those. We usually name the ones that we see regularly.
Frequently, yeah.
But when you're referring to them, you're not like, oh yeah, it's that 8 point we saw, back in October with the 1 point that comes out. It's just like, no.
Yeah, just give them a name so you
Just
can
give 'em a
be like,
name,
okay,
and it
move
makes
on.
it fun.
Yeah, and also we have a little bit of a what do you call it? My gosh. A superstition. We have got a little superstition lately that the deer ain't gonna die until he got a name. So
you're right.
Or he's not, I shouldn't say that. He's not gonna give an opportunity until he has a name. And we've tested that on numerous occasions with great success and great failure, because as soon as they got a name, we got an opportunity, and we either celebrated or we cried to an extent.
Yep.
But well, that was a good one too. Cornmeal.
Yeah, we could go on for days about that. Just about all that deer personality, genetics.
That'll
That'll
be something we can definitely get into more of that, because there's a lot to talk about state to state on that regard as well, in my opinion.
There is.
But one more question we had. Michael from Instagram asks, how did you get into the hunting industry? How did you get into the hunting industry? The age-all question.
The famous question.
What's the formula?
Didn't happen overnight.
Give me the mathematical equation.
No, didn't. A lot of hard work, persistence. Honestly, well,
I think hard work and persistence. Never saying no.
Never backing down.
Don't let people put you down. Only have good days. Positive vibes only.
I'm gonna go back to. So we had a competition that we entered. And what year was this? This was like kind of what kicked it off.
You're talking about Campbell, Illinois Whitetail.
Yeah, the Campbell, Illinois Whitetail Challenge. This was like the first thing we did that had something to do with TV or broadcast. So this is kind of what was like the first event.
Yeah, no, I would
into doing what we're doing.
I would agree with that. That definitely, I wouldn't say it was a big break by any means, but that like put us right in front of people that were in the hunting industry, and that gave us like even more confidence and motivation to say, go do it. Like chase that right there. That's what we want to do. That trip was fucking insane, dude.
It was out of control.
Oh my God. I can't believe you just brought that trip up.
Nobody knows what this was. It was literally
it was like a reality TV show.
Yeah, I don't know how we even got the opportunity, but they were picking. We saw it
on Facebook, and we applied.
Yeah, they were picking 2-man teams, just a hunter and a cameraman, to go to Campbell, Illinois Whitetail, which was this outfitter at the time, and they also coupled that with they have Campbell Cameras, who is no longer a thing, but
all right,
they sold everything camera for filming hunts. They sold actual cameras, the camo skins, tree arms, everything. Like just everything you needed you needed for hunting and filming. They sold it.
And also, was there a school? Like, did Tom and Nick do a school? No, I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe there was some sort of education also involved if wanted or needed, but Yes,
Well,
they
this was kind of that. So you were applying to go to this competition, and you were going to be put to the test with all these filming aspects on top of hunting aspects.
right.
So
And there was 10, wait, was there 10 teams? Yeah.
10 or
No.
12.
Yeah, there was 10 two-man teams. I mean, we got fucking thrown right into the mix. That was insane. Like
Yeah, we didn't know.
it was TV sets. Like we were doing interviews with like lit up, TV set backdrops
They
and
had a
like
whole stage, like a whole show stage that we every night we were in front
right.
of.
Yeah, and there was a competitive aspect to the filming portion of it too. Like every night there was a different production element that was due, whether it was time lapses or area reference shots or fuck, I don't even remember the other ones, but
Yeah, like you had your goal for the day was to go get like your 3 best area reference shots. Could have been like a clip of like a water tower or something to kind of let the people know where you were at, and they would
right.
literally basically grade you on your 3 shots. I think it was 3, it might have been 5, but it was something like that you turned in every night. And
Well,
then
and then
if they were
the
good,
top
they would
three,
use them.
yeah, and the top three got like recognized, like the top three, and it was a point system
Yeah.
because it all had to like if you didn't kill a deer, you could still win the competition technically if you were very sound from a camera perspective.
Yeah.
So I remember we literally got like we signed up for it or whatever, we got in, we were going, and we literally bought a camera from Campbell's after we figured out we were going that was like a Canon like
I think it was a Vixia. It was literally like
wasn't Vixia.
the lowest HD camcorder that you could purchase, pretty much.
Well, I don't think it was the lowest you could purchase. It was the lowest one that you could film with to be a part of this Campbell, Illinois Whitetail Challenge. Because they were, I mean,
the footage
this was
had to be a
all
certain standard.
This was all going to be on Campbell, Illinois Whitetails. It was a show. Or Campbell Cameras was a show. Either one. It was going to be a couple episode series on the show. So we go in there. We order this camera. We're like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. We are going to smoke these fuckers. And we get there and we got this like little Vixia and we're all proud of it.
In your hand.
Yeah, we're all proud of it. We had a Vixia. We had a GoPro Hero 1, literally the first generation GoPro. And then we had the camcorder that we used to film with that was like a little Sony that another second angle. They said you had to have second and third angles. We're like, what the fuck does that mean? We'll just bring more cameras. So
that thing took like little cassettes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, no. Was it that one? I don't know. Either way, it was insane. What we had to film with was hilarious. And then we get there and these guys, every single one of these teams is repping like a freaking massive on your shoulder camera that's got like wings. It's got an arm that comes out and like slaps you in the ass every once in a while to wake you up.
Yeah.
It's, dude, like
you're filming at Augusta.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on the green filming for Tiger Woods at Augusta. Like that's what these people. Honestly, I remember 2 teams there had the Vixia that we bought that was their second angle camera.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember. I'm like, holy shit, we're screwed.
So that was an instant reality check. We were like, oh boy. Well, we wanted to come and
we look like idiots.
See what the big leagues were about, although this was like an amateur show and everything, so it wasn't even the big leagues yet. But the cool part was, out of the 5 hunting days, out of 5 production elements, we came in the top 3 out of the 5 days with the equipment that we were running.
Yeah, so we
felt pretty good about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, we were the ones that were like, we were the young guys of the group for sure. We were the youngest guys there. I'm almost positive. And, we were just there having a good time, cutting up with everybody. you know, kind of showcasing our personalities. And we quickly, like linked up with Tom Petrie, and Nick was there at that point
He
too,
was
wasn't
there,
he?
yeah.
Yeah. So Nick Ventura, both from Become One now, and they have one of the better shows on Sportsman. And they do the production class and all that stuff too. But we linked up with them, and like, I don't know, for whatever reason, we hit it off. And so the whole time, you know, Tom's messing with us, we're messing with him. He actually busted through our door at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. Or no, we came out of our door like getting ready to go in the woods to hunt, and he had this bright ass light and this camera like literally shoved right in our face. And he was messing with us, whatever, and we always talk about that. But yeah, that was just, it was crazy that we were thrown into the mix. But the cool part was, like I said, from the production element standpoint, like we came out, we did pretty well for ourselves. I felt like
We utilized what we had very well. It was, I mean, that was a fun hunt. It was also very hard. Like it was, you didn't sleep. Because I
at
remember
all.
you'd have to do those interviews late at night, dinner, whatever, and then you'd have whatever amount of time to turn in your stuff after dinner for like that day. So I just remember, you know, offloading the footage and then like charging stuff. I remember we'd be up till midnight, 1:00, and then
least.
we'd be getting up. They'd wake you up sometimes at like 4:30. Yeah, it was so early. It was so
Well,
early.
and I mean, it was like mid-October at that point, so it wasn't like ideal for rut hunting quite yet. But they said, and obviously they're like, your best chance is to just stay out there all day.
Yeah.
And they were making sandwiches and stuff, so we were literally hunting all day. I mean, maybe we were switching spots like midday, but we were hunting all day. And I mean, after like the third day of that, like literally you're hunting all day, you're coming back, you're eating, then you got to get on the computer. We had to organize all of our footage, because like the production element stuff, we had to label and like submit those specific clips. And then we submitted all of our footage every night.
Yeah, so we like, that's why those like the show segments we do after dinner or whatever
Right.
was
And then
from the day before that they,
Right.
you know, they had picked all the stuff, and then
Exactly.
after dinner you would turn in your stuff from that day. So it was never ending.
Dude, we the first day we go they like drive us, you know, we've got like two sections of
Yeah, you draw like farms out of a hat.
right. And so we drew something, and then the sanctuary. We drew the sanctuary and
That's
the
what they
back
call it,
40.
yeah.
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 So their recommendation was to go to the sanctuary. So we drive, you know, we're taking the dirt roads, whatever. We drive down the dirt road and we go to the sanctuary. And the guide shows us where to walk in. Don't want to walk in there to boot any deer or whatever. And we agreed with that. This is the afternoon before our first morning hunt. So the next morning we get up, and it's pitch black, and they're like, yeah, just bring a flashlight. And we have like those, you know, glow in the dark, like little
The
plastic
eyes.
circle things,
Yeah.
the eye things that are on the tree, and just follow that right to the stand. Dude, doing that in like pines in a dark ass hardwoods was brutal. We were all
It was
over
so
the place.
loud.
There was deer freaking blowing and
Yeah.
hightailing it out of there. I mean, and then we finally got to the tree, and I got in the camera or the hunter spot. Dude, the stand was at like a 45-degree angle up in the air. So like it was almost impossible to like stand on to begin with. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is insane, man. Like,
Nobody
I don't
adjusted this one for during the summer.
We adjusted this one 4 years ago, and now it's pretty much just grown into the tree. Well, that first morning we didn't see shit. We ended up getting out for a quick lunch at the truck, and then we sat there, we may have saw a few deer. But then we got back and we were asking them about like the back 40 and other spots to go. So the next day we go to the back 40 and we get into a ladder stand that was a lot more comfortable. It was on the edge of a food plot, but like there was 2 food plots on this place, and you kind of walked by the one, and it had like a elevated like homemade box blind in it, and then you walked literally past that one, and then to the back of the other food plot. So the access was bullshit.
Not good.
I mean, terrible. So we hunted that back one like for a day, maybe a day and a half, and we're like, getting in and out was brutal. I mean, we were seeing deer right at dark and stuff in the food plot, but
yeah,
man, getting in and out of there was rough. So it was like the 3rd day, I think, and man, we are just exhausted. Like going all day, shooting TV after dinner, and then loading all this footage, and we are just dead ass beat. Meanwhile, the next morning it was calling for rain in the morning.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
So we're like, we don't have rain covers, or I mean, all these guys got raincoats for literally every one of their cameras. They're all prepared. We are
not.
And so we kind of like, and that night, for whatever reason, we were having some trouble with footage. I remember we didn't get to bed until like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. Dean and I are shot. We're like, you know what? Screw this. We're going to sleep. We're going to sleep until 8, 9 o'clock. And then we're going to go, grab Sangies, and we're just going to go in for the rest of the day. And it's like 4:30 and our door blows open, and Tom is like, "What are you guys doing? Get your asses up, boys. We're here to hunt. We ain't here to sleep." All this, like,
yeah,
camera in our face, lights on. And we're like, dude, we're sleeping in. He's like, you guys aren't sleeping in. Like, you guys are only here for 5 or 6 days. Like, get your shit, get your asses up, and get out there. And we're like,
I remember we had our plan was we were going to get up in the morning, like right at daylight, and we had to turn in the footage from the last, because we were having trouble with it. So that was going to be our plan. Like, oh, we'll sleep for an extra hour. We'll get our footage turned in, and then we'll go mid-morning. We'll sit the rest of the day. And Tom came busting in. He was like, no, you're not doing that. He's like, turn in the footage, whatever, later and go hunt.
We're like,
so we're like, you ass, that we didn't want to because we want an extra hour of sleep. But he made us go out there, so there we are dragging ass. We were already a little bit late because we were planning on going to hunt, but we were like, oh my God. So that kind of threw us off. And then here we are going to our spot, going to hunt. And yeah, like you said, I think we asked Tom on the way there, or I can't remember, but we asked them about the box blind because we're like, guys, would it make sense if we went and sat in there for maybe at least for the morning so we could let this rain pass, whatever. And I don't remember who it was, Tom or one of the guys was like, yeah, you can go up there, but no one's been up there like this summer. Like, no, we haven't checked on that blind, since last year or whatever. And we were like, okay. So then we had a decision to make.
Well, the decision was made pretty quick when we were walking past the first food plot where the box blind was. And mind you, we're walking past like, this is a very elongated food plot. So we're walking past like the top of it. Okay. Yeah. So we're only passing by like maybe 40 yards of the plot. And the box blind is 150 yards at least on the other end of this field. So we get to that point in our journey to our tree stand, and it starts pouring. And Dean and I look at each other, and I'm like, dude, I'll go to this box blind if you will. And Dean's like, yeah, fuck it. Like, what do we have to lose? I mean, we're going to be sitting in the tree stand getting soaking wet with our cameras in the bag. Makes no sense.
No.
So we start huffing it across this field, and we get to this box blind. And mind you, this box blind, you have to enter from like literally a center hole in the middle of this blind in the bottom of it. So
enter through the undercarriage.
It's not like get up onto a landing, stand there, open a door, and walk into the blind. That ain't how it is. No. It's like we're going up through the freaking submarine. You're going to peek your head in, make sure there's no friggin' coons in this thing, and then get in. under the blind is 4 foot to 5 foot tall grass. Like none of this was.
Oh man, it was not touched.
So we're standing in there trying to figure our shit out, like trying to figure out how to get into this blind.
And it's one of those blinds, mind you, all wood, but it's got the horizontal like opening around the whole thing. There's no windows in this thing. It was just open.
It's essentially just like a little deck with a roof on it. And
yeah, it was well, my point was, it's not, there's no glass windows or anything to like block out critters or anything. Right. It's open air. Yeah. It's just got a roof over it.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, Dean's the cameraman. I'm like, you go first.
So yeah, I don't even remember what the hell
by the way, this is absolutely insane. This is insane. This whole scenario. It's all coming back to me right now. This whole scenario in my head.
It's sort of like breaking day. Like it's just getting light. So we're like, we got to get up here. We got to get in here, and it's raining. So we're like, we just got to get in, and we'll figure our shit out. So I remember I slipped in. There were two red folding chairs in there, like the ones you would camp in or go to a one of your kids' baseball games in. There was two of them in there. Got up, just like literally got on all fours to try to like make sense of where we were.
Meanwhile, there's fucking cobwebs and there's like pine cones and there's all sorts of shit up there. It looks like an abandoned friggin' shed that hasn't been cleaned out or anything in years.
But from what I could hear or feel around, there was no large varmints.
Right. No.
We were safe from large varmints. So David climbs up, and then we like shut the, it was like a trap.
We buttoned the hatch.
Yeah, we buttoned the hatch. So we finally were like gasped. We're like, oh my God, we're in. Now we can just like get our shit situated. So I remember the first thing Dave does is grabs a red chair.
Well, I just grabbed it to open it.
You just grabbed the red chair to open it. Well, he starts like freaking out, and he's like, bees. There was
I got fucking stung by a bee.
There was a freaking bee's nest in one or both of the chairs, and there were freaking bees everywhere. Like they were going nuts. Like I'm literally just like laying on the ground, like don't sting me. There were bees everywhere. We're freaking out because we can't see.
Get rid of the fucking chairs. I'm like, fucking throw the chairs out.
So literally, we launched these chairs out the blind. I remember distinctively, as soon as the first chair hit the ground, I just heard deer snorting.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I mean, naturally, there was deer around us in the food plot.
Yeah, this food plot was like, or this blind was like 15 to 20 yards into the food plot, but it was surrounded by like thick bedding area. Like it was awesome spot.
Yeah, it really was a
so
nice
these
spot.
Deer were probably just coming out of the bedding area. We were launching red chairs into the food plot, and they're snorting, and we're just like, we heard the snorts, and we're just like, oh, everyone. We're just like, oh my God, this hunt's over and done with. David's nursing a friggin' stung hand. So I'm just like, shit, like what the hell is going on? This is brutal right now. Our chairs are gone. So
now we have nothing to sit on. We're kneeling to see out the windows.
Yeah, now we're kneeling. So as this is happening, I remember I don't remember if it was a flashlight or phone light, whatever it was. And after that happened, we kind of like hit the blind with, what was in there. So we could see what the hell we were working with. And I remember seeing there was more bees nests like on the walls of the blind, I remember. And we're like, shit, there's still bees in here. They're calmed down, but we got to figure out what to do with them. I also remember shining in the corner, and I saw a dinosaur of a spider. Like this thing it was the size of a softball. It was huge, like horrifyingly huge. And it was just like in the corner, like not, it was minding its own business, but out,
But now we were in his business.
Now we were in his business, but we were in such a pickle with all the bees that was like kind of we weren't even thinking about the spider.
What he's trying to tell me is he didn't fucking tell me that there was a massive gargantuan spider in the corner of this blind.
I mean, it was huge. It had weight. It had weight to it. It was huge. So anyway, over the course of it had to be 5 to 10 minutes. I remember taking out arrows in David's quiver, and we're like stabbing bees. Like, we're literally trying to get rid of the bees first so we don't get stung.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was all sorts of insects and shit that were like, it was insane. There was all sorts of shit that was in there that we were just trying to get rid of.
And it's still dark. But I remember at one point, I think we took care of most of the bees, and David kind of like not stands up, but like sits up on his knee. And like, again, I'm just kind of like resetting, like taking a deep breath, and you're just like, oh my God, this is crazy. We got another step, taken care of here. And as soon as like he stood up, he was right in front of me. And it was just like the outside of the blind just had enough light where I could see his silhouette, David's. And this was literally, I can't make this up. This was out of a horror movie. Like, you dream about crazy crap like this. But in David's silhouette, I literally see up his back. I can see this freaking spider crawling up his back, like towards his hood, towards his neck area. And I, like, out of reaction, I don't even know what I said or did. I just said, I'm like, Dave, the spider. And I literally backhanded this thing as hard as I could off of his hood. I think it was on your hood.
Yeah,
it was going towards your neck,
right about
goes into your neck and into your suit. Game over. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
like you're jumping out of the blind.
Yeah, rolling around like I'm on fire in the food plot.
This freaking spider is crawling up your hood, and I just remember backhanding this. I felt every inch of it on the back of my hand when I backhanded this thing, and I hit it so hard it flew off of his hood, and it hit the blind side, which is like fiberglass. It was like
it's like siding.
Yeah, it was
like vinyl siding almost.
This thing hit the siding so hard that it made a noise. Like, it was like
a dent. It made a dent.
Yeah, it pinged the side, but I remember the spider actually made a noise. Like a small rodent would. Like, it like squealed. And that's how big the spider was. The spider squealed. No joke. But I hit it so hard, killed that thing. And we were just
you did not kill that thing. You wounded him, and we killed him with one of my arrows.
Yeah,
remember, we were stabbing that thing with a fucking arrow on the carpet, and we just stabbed him into like 14 pieces.
But we were scarred for life after that, because that thing was going for his neck. And he's freaking out because I whacked it off of it. I
didn't know what it was
off his back, and he's like, what was that? And I'm like, dude, that was a spider the size of Texas crawling up your back, and now it just hit the wall. And he started freaking out. Yeah, he started freaking out even more, because he was just like, the bees, now the spider, and he, what a mess.
All the while, we had gotten like 2 hours worth of sleep.
And that's
freaking exhausted.
We were mad at each other. I mean, the mood was not good.
We ultimately didn't even we weren't planning to be there. So the mood was not good. And at that point, I was so tired, and it was pissing rain so hard. I had already been stung by a freaking bee, almost got eaten by a man-eating spider. We literally, on the floor of this blind that was nasty as fuck, we laid both of our book bags down, and we literally passed out. We fell asleep. I was so exhausted. There was no choice.
Well, and we didn't have chairs. So we stood up on our knees for like a second while it was getting light. And, obviously that's not comfortable to do on a hard floor for more than a few minutes. So we both sat, I just remember both sitting on our butts and literally just, again, collecting our thoughts, like, what is happening? They kind of told us, they didn't tell us not to go to the blind, but they warned us, like, no one's checked it. So we went against that, and it bit us in the ass. Yeah, we put our book bags down, and I just remember we both are just like, just taking a second to reset. And the next thing I remember was waking up,
and it was light.
And it was light. Like, I mean, it was not recent. from when we fell asleep.
No, I mean, I guarantee you we fell asleep for a solid 45 minutes. I
Yeah.
bet. I mean, dude, we were absolutely dead, beat ass exhausted. Like we were just exhausted. And I remember Dean waking up, and I woke up kind of at the same time, and we were laying there, and no homo. And like Dean's like, we probably should check the food plot. And I'm like, dude, honestly, I don't even care at this point. And
Yeah, because obviously the only windows are at eye height if you're kneeling. So if you're laying down, you don't see anything.
yeah, you're just in a hole at that
You're
point.
just in a little box.
I remember watching Dean like get to his knees and then crawl up and like peek up like he just kind of like rose his head up and he just like peeked up, just so his eyes could see above the walls of the blind. And as soon as he peeked his head up, I could see it in his eyes and I knew what was happening. And the buck that we were in there to shoot, or one of them, was 50 yards from our blind, facing us with like 2 or 3 doe facing us, coming in our direction. And like all of that, I could literally see Dean processing that through his eyes and like the holy shit look that he had in his face. And he was like, he's like, dude, there's a big buck right here. And like, I wanted to be like,
no effing way.
No way. But I could see it in his eyes that he was like, there's a big fucking buck right here, right here. So he's talking to me and I'm talking to him, trying to figure out like how I move. At this point, the rain had kind of slowed down a little bit. And literally I got to be like, onto my knees where I could peek over the blind wall. And I'm like, holy shit, this deer is in the thicket. Like there's kind of like a little like path road that goes down through the thicket, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And he was on it facing us. And there was a couple doe in front of them and they were making their way out into the food plot. And we're like shitting ourselves. We're like, oh my God, like this would happen right now. We've gotten stung. We've gotten soaking wet. We've gotten stung by a bee. We almost got killed by a spider. And now we haven't barely seen any deer for 3 days. And now this buck is literally standing 50 yards from us. Looks like he's going to come right into our food plot.
Meanwhile, he was facing that way, but I must say, like, they were in the bedding area. These deer could have easily walked right by the blind while we were sleeping.
Easily.
I mean, we have no idea.
Arguably, it would make sense that they did.
It would make sense that they did. Yeah, because this food plot that we were on transitioned from like big ag fields that were, I don't remember what direction, doesn't matter. But so these deer would come off the big ag fields. They'd come through a bunch of cover, usually transition through this food plot and then go to bed. And they were on the bedside of us when we spotted them. So we don't know what they did, but they could have easily walked right, not like in bow range of our blind while we were passed out sleeping.
Yeah. So eventually the 2 doe kind of made it into the thicket, and then the buck just slowly followed them. And we're like, oh my God. We're like, he's got to come back out here tonight. But it rained that whole day.
Yeah.
And it rained that whole day. It rained the whole next morning. So we sat in that blind all day, didn't see another deer the rest of the day. And then we got back into that blind the next morning, planning on sitting all day again. And we did. And it was raining that morning. It cleared out and it started to get windy, but it was clearing up, like blue skies, sunny, high pressure. Wouldn't you know it, like all of a sudden, an hour before dark, a couple doe come out of the bedding area, kind of like, if you can imagine where they went in, similar spot, but in the food plot now. Like they're in the plot. So they were already within, 40 or 50 yards of us, and they're feeding. A couple minutes goes by and a smaller 8-point comes out, and we're like, holy shit. Like the food plot started to fill up legitimately. And all of a sudden, that son of a gun comes out of that same bedding area, the weather was so bad. I guarantee you that deer was laying in that bed all night or all day, like for a day and a
Yeah.
half, basically.
Yeah, I think he was.
And just maybe just circling in there all the while. We literally had to walk like a half circle around this bedding area, in and out 3 different times while he's laying in there. And he comes out into this food plot and he's feeding at like 55, 52, 55 again. And he's munching, and there's a couple doe that are closer, and the other 8-point was like chilling out there somewhere, and he's eating. And meanwhile, like it's gusty now, like high pressure day. I mean, it was gusting 25 to 30 miles an hour.
It was
like,
gusting hard.
We could literally probably dance in that blind, and nothing was really looking up there because it was gusting.
Yeah.
And I am literally like, I gotta shoot this deer. I'm like telling Dean, I'm like, dude, what do you think? Like 55 yards, let one rip at this deer. Like,
yeah, you wanted to shoot.
I'm taking it to a new level, honestly. And in my younger years, yeah, it was a lot more risque, if you will. But I wanted to let one rip at this deer so freaking bad, so bad. But it didn't make any sense. I mean, it was
so windy. Yeah.
It was so windy. I mean, I practice out to that distance religiously, but it was so windy. That arrow probably would have come out of that blind and made it like, I don't know, 26 yards or something, and done a nosedive into the ground.
Yeah. It was blowing right at us. It would have been tough. Tough shot with the broadhead.
I mean, and we watched that deer for probably close to, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Feed, at 50, 60 yards. And then him and the 8-point, like, slowly went away from us. And they actually probably ended up in the other food plot where where that tree stand was, because that's kind of the direction they went. But we watched them basically feed out of our lives. And I mean, part of us were bummed because we didn't get a shot off, and we watched them for so long and the opportunity. And part of us were like so pumped because we saw, it was, at that point, it was probably one of the bigger deer that we had filmed ever.
Yeah, it was big 8.
And it was like we didn't know what to think at that point, but we knew that he was there, and we didn't spook him, and we were probably going to be in the chips, at least hopefully, the next couple days.
I think we only had one. Maybe we had 1 day left after that.
I think we had one. Yeah, I think we had 1 day left to hunt.
But it was kind of cool. We made our own decisions and got closer and closer to the deer, which was kind of cool because we were kind of getting pushed to hunt the other property. We weren't seeing anything there, and then when we were pushed to hunt that property, it was hunted in this spot. So we kind of made our own decisions. That was the only
spot available.
Yeah, we made our own decisions and got closer and closer to the deer. We just kind of ran out of time, but it was just, that was a crazy 2 days.
Crazy sequence
of in that blind and what we went through. And yeah, it was nuts. But that's,
dude, it was nuts. I mean, it would, like, in the moment, it would have made our heads spin. I mean, it was insane. Oh, dude. That day was so crazy. We sat in that blind all day. I remember the day that we finally saw him again, when it cleared up and it was windy. And we went to we turned our footage in proudly that night, and everybody had their footage, we turned it in and whatever. And we had to turn our cards in, and they kept our cards until the next morning. And then they gave them back before we went into hunt. We could clear them, whatever. Well, we turn all of our shit in. We finally get done, like, at a decent hour for once. And we turn all of our shit in. We had dinner, whatever. Dean and I are laying down. It's probably 11:30 at this point. We're getting to bed before midnight. Like, we're on cloud 9. Well, we're laying there. Lights are out. And it's just like a little barrack style room, 2 single beds on either side of the room. And something hit me. And I'm like, holy fuck, dude. We got to go get our cards back. And Dean's like, why? And I'm like, dude, today, when we were sitting all day, we had one of our the GoPro was set up in the bottom of the blind, like on a little tripod, probably only 6 inches off the ground. Well, throughout the course of the day, I had to go to the bathroom. Well, during the hunt, it was the middle of the day during the hunt. I literally sat or kneeled right in front of the camera and pissed in a bottle right in front of the camera. I mean, cock right there, like
unintentionally.
Absolutely unintentionally.
Didn't even know it was on. Yeah.
But then I remember after I did that, and then we, like a couple minutes later, we're like, oh shit, the GoPro's going. We're laughing.
My
and
tools
at that
on
time,
there.
there's no screen on the GoPro. It's not like you can delete files.
No.
Right on the
Not
GoPro.
those ones.
This was the first generation
Hero
GoPro.
1, yeah, it was the first Hero.
So then all this happens with this buck coming in, and we're all fired up. I mean, we're on cloud 9, so we go in, we turn our footage in, whatever. I didn't even think about it again
Forgot about it.
Until we're laying there. Like, dude, we turned that footage in. They're going to see my dick. Like, I think it's going to be front and center. And they're going through all these clips. Like, there is a massive cock shot, or what? There's a cock shot on one of these cards. Fuck, dude, I was geeking. I'm like, no fucking way. Like, we're on TV. Like, this is a TV show. We're trying to build a reputation. We're trying to start like our own journey in the outdoor industry. I just turned in footage with my dick all over it. and all the while, it probably got the footage of us realizing that my dick was on camera after the fact. Dude, we turn the lights on. We're freaking out. I'm like, what do we do? Dean's like, I don't fucking know what we do. We go downstairs. Thank God somebody was still up. I'm like, hey, the dude that took all of our footage, his name was Aaron. I'm like, hey, where's Aaron? Like, I need to make an adjustment to one of our cards. I made something up. I'm like, I think I labeled one of the like production elements wrong or something. Like, I need that card back. And so they're like, he's got to be downstairs like editing, dude. And we go down into like this, I think it was like a basement, or it was either a basement or like one of the other buildings or something.
It was the shop where actual Campbell Cameras was.
Okay.
Like the inventory room, but they had like an office back there.
So we go back into this office, and it's like pitch black. And like way back in this office, like you see just like this light, like this computer light, and Aaron's just sitting behind it, like back in this corner, And it's like, it was like something out of a movie. It was like, Jesus, man, like, get this dude some lights or some fucking a sandwich or something. I don't know. Well, we go back there, and I'm like, yo, we're sweating at this point. Like, talk about getting some sleep and passing out. I couldn't have fallen asleep at this point. Couldn't have fallen asleep at this point if you paid me to. I'm like, Aaron, hey, I need that white card. I think we labeled some of our production elements wrong. I just want to make sure that they're right. And he's like, what? I'm like, dude, just like,
he was kind of like, I'll be fine.
I'm literally, I need it for like 10 minutes. I'm going to bring it right back. He's like, okay, here. He gives it to us. And so we go running back upstairs, and I got this like little tablet, HP like tablet thing from like college, I think, that we were loading footage on and shit like that. Dude, I freaking put that card in the camera, and it was like 2 clips in, just dick. And I'm like, oh my God, front and center dick just pissing in a bottle. And I'm like, oh my God, we would have never lived that down. We would have never heard the end of it. It would have just been that was out of control. That was out of control. So to sum it up and get back to Michael's question, how'd you get into the hunting industry? Well, we hiked in the dark into a tree stand that we've never been into. We got very little sleep. We went into a blind, got stung by bees, almost got eaten by a man-eating spider, passed out, woke up to the shooter almost in bow range of us, and then basically almost put my dick on TV. That's how we did it.
Oh, man. Didn't get the buck. And you know what? is actually kind of funny about this whole story, talking about, the hunting industry, is Skylar Wersig from Heartland Bowhunter
Shot
shot
the
that
buck.
buck like a week and a half later.
Yep. They were on like the professional series of Campbell cameras at the time. This is when they were just first started coming
Yeah, I
up.
mean, like they were just starting to grow pretty good, but they were established. But it was young Heartland Bowhunter.
Oh yeah, and yeah, Skylar shot that buck. And the funny thing is, that buck he was a mainframe 8, and he didn't have very big brow tines. And
No.
8 points were 125 minimum or 130.
125 minimum, otherwise you paid a fine.
Yeah, and then 9 points were 140 and above. Anything above an 8 point was 140 and above.
Yeah.
So we were reviewing the footage, and most of the guides were like, hammer that son of a bitch. Get back in there and kill that thing. And the one guy was kind of like, man, I don't know. That deer's 120.
He had him measured. He had him measured before anyone killed him at like 123 inches. And we were kind of like, man, we're not experts on measuring deer, but that's a big ass 8 point.
Yeah, he was kind of spindly, but freaking A, the deer had a frame on him that you just couldn't believe.
I just actually, not long ago, I saw the clip of that deer, which is great footage in the food plot. But you see him now after all the experience and everything we have, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, that's a big 8 point.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big deer. It was a nice, it was a big deer. Nice 8.
So we were kind of getting some shit about maybe not shooting them or not, or just kind of like, well, maybe, whatever. And like the one guide's like, we're measuring the fucking thing. Like, shoot them. And
television.
So it was funny to see, because when I saw that it was on Facebook, I'm like, Dean, holy shit, we're sitting there. I'm like, holy shit, dude, Skylar shot this buck. He had it posted on Facebook. And anyway, yeah, so Skylar posted a picture of this buck. I'm like, holy shit, Dean, that's the deer that we were hunting at Campbell, Illinois whitetails. And so I messaged them just out of curiosity. I'm like, hey, man, what'd that deer end up scoring? And he was like 138 with 3 total inches of brow tines. That deer scored 138. I'm like, holy shit, that dude wasn't even close.
Not even close. He wasn't
even in the same class. But man, what a fiasco. What a trip.
We'll remember that one for a long time, but that was trip numero uno, pretty much. That was numero uno as a filming, hunting tandem.
Duo, yeah. And that was fun, reliving that. I don't know, that came out of nowhere, and that came just from a question on social media and stuff, but
it's honestly a trip that we don't like, we forget about it, but we don't relive.
Been a minute.
Yeah, we don't relive those memories. Because it was crazy. It was just nuts. Yeah, it was nuts. That whole blind thing, just the whole trip in general. And we still are very close with her, talked to a few of the guys that were there, which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, and that shows the cool part and the power of the hunting industry and stuff. But yeah, man, that was insane. Holy shit. That was funny. Reliving that is hilarious. Wow. Oh my gosh, that was insane. Like, every day was eventful. Every day.
It was.
But hang on one second. Thank God. Sorry, Nelly had to go out. We'll have to chop that up a little bit, but that's fine. But yeah, that was a trip of all trips, to say the least. And I don't even know that we fully grasped what was going on in those moments.
Figuring it out on the fly.
And we were just running. We were just going. Like, it was just like head down, keep going. Like, obstacle, jump over it, go under it, go through it. Doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Pivot.
Just figure it out.
Pivot.
That's what you do, though. That's goose chasing for you.
Good stuff.
That is good stuff. What do you got going on this weekend? Upcoming week?
I got to do a land consultation this weekend. So,
Oh, are you going to do one this weekend?
yeah, Sunday. So that'll be nice. Get out, enjoy the woods, walk some land that you've never seen before, and
Hell yeah, dude.
shed some knowledge and stuff onto other people, helping people grow some deer.
That's good
Which is
shit,
what
man.
we love to do.
That's good shit. That's up in New York.
Yeah, that's in New York. Hopefully, they were calling for a bunch of snow tomorrow, but I think a lot of it's going to be rain, so might be a soupy mess Sunday. But that we're tentatively planned for Sunday, pending the weather.
Boots on the ground, baby. Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. So yeah, that'll be fun to do. And as always, if anyone needs some land consultation work or help growing some quality deer and turkey, hit
Love
us
to
up.
help you out. Love to help you out. Love helping.
Love
Help
that.
me help you.
We love
Well,
that.
that was another solid episode, Dino. That was fun revisiting that. Fun answering a couple of those questions. So if you guys got any questions or comments, feel free to send them our way, because that just pretty much spurred our whole podcast today. So
Did. Went on a tangent there, but that's good.
Went on a Campbell, Illinois whitetail tangent. Yeah, that was good. We got some cool stuff coming up in the near future. Maybe some changes with TNB that we'll be bringing to you guys live right here on the podcast. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We got different content flying out on all different platforms. Our latest and greatest is always on YouTube first, so check it out. And subscribe to us on Spotify now, or Apple Music, or Google, or wherever the hell you ingest your podcast, because we got a new one flying out every single Wednesday.
LFG.
Until next time, we will. We hope y'all have a fantastic weekend, and we will see y'all right here next Wednesday on another great episode of Goose Chasing.
Chasing. TAGNBRAG Nation. Thanks for listening.
Get out there and chase something.